Newport City Regular Council meeting is called to order at 6:30 p.m. Council members present, President John Wilson, Kevin Charbonneau, Chris Vachon, Clark Curtis, City Clerk and Treasurer is here, James Johnson. Comptroller Rebecca Terrian. Additional staff members, I have the police chief, I have Mr. Bernier, I have Mr. Brown, I have Mr. Cheney. Anybody else out there who wants to put their head in? Okay. Next item on the agenda is additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda. President Wilson, Councilman Charbonneau, Councilman Vachon.
I'd actually like to move to table number 8 to the interview of the potential candidate for fire chief. From my understanding, the fire department really wants to be more involved in that and wants to be part of the hiring process as well.
I will read the charter about that, so I think I'll read it right now. Charter actually provides that the city council shall appoint and may remove at its pleasure and appoint others in their stead a board of fire wardens consisting of one chief and a first and second assistant engineer, 24 at VSA Chapter 7 S8. There is no provision in the charter requiring the employees to participate.
I'd still like to table.
I just want you to be aware. Okay, so I'm aware of that. Any discussion or any?
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Ayes have it, that is tabled, okay?
Madam Mayor,
Yes, I'm sorry.
may we hear the reason why Mr. Bouchard asked to table it?
Yes, and I believe what he said, and you can just jump in at any point in time, was that he said that the fire employees wanted to have input. Am I correct?
My understanding is they believe that there was going to be some form of a hiring committee of officers and people who know what fire department's about. That would almost
Vet the candidates and then present recommendations.
Okay, so, right, as opposed to their participation in the job description, which they did.
Correct. In addition to, yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may speak, if we review the minutes from the November 6th meeting, you had asked us as the fire department members, the hiring process and so on and so forth. For several years, 138 years to be exact, the fire department has had members do some hiring, do the hiring, have a hiring committee and go through the process, and then we bring forth, or the committee brought forth to the council the people that questioned, the candidates essentially with their requirements and so on and so forth. And then the council would take it upon them and do their own interview process.
Understood.
And we were under the assumption that that was going to happen back on November 6th at this meeting, that you had requested information and how we had done it in the past. So if that is the case, if that's not the case, why were we asked to provide that information?
Understood. Any other additions? Okay, so I have one right now. I would like to please add an addition of the Ferrant Saint Stormwater Improvement sign-off, and I have, if you don't mind, Mr. Bernier here to explain it. and why it's necessary for it to go on now. Do you mind? Just to get a little brief update.
Sure. So, Memphremagog Watershed Association has been the lead on the Farron Street, Lake Road stormwater system, which picks up, what is it here, 125 acres roughly that it collects the sediment from the west side of town. The project was to remove phosphorus from the lake. I have signed off on the completion of the construction. You have all the paperwork there. The final one is a signature from the mayor to sign off on the project. We officially own the project now that it's been built. So that's what this paperwork is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So may I have a motion to add this as this agenda item now and to have the mayor sign off on this completion document?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. The motion is carried. Where's Mr. Ray?
Thank you.
Thank you. My glasses are fogging up. I apologize. Thank you, everybody. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of December 4th, 2023 and December 11, 2023. May I please have the separate motions for each approval? May I start with a motion to approve the minutes of December 4th, 2023?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
I'll abstain, I wasn't here.
Ayes have it, and motion is carried to approve the minutes of December 4th, 2023. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 11, 2023?
I move to accept the minutes from December 11, 2023.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and 2 seconds. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, and the motion is carried.
I'll just sign off.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the agenda, we're moving into public participation. We're actually going to be opening up the floor to public comment for each agenda item. Members of the audience are reminded that members of the press are present and that these proceedings are being recorded for current and future broadcast, over the city's cable television channel. Members of the audience are further reminded that Newport City Council meetings are for the purpose of allowing council members to conduct city business. City council meetings are the only time the city council discusses, deliberates, and decides upon city matters. City council meetings are held in public to promote transparency and accountability in government, but they are distinct from public hearings or town meetings in that they are not meetings of the public. Members of the public shall be afforded a reasonable opportunity to express opinions, about matters considered by the city council. To conduct orderly and efficient meetings, I kindly request the public's cooperation and compliance with the published guidelines when participating in the meeting, and I thank you for that. When you hear your name called, please identify your name, your residence, or your association. You will have 2 minutes for your comments. Councilman, would you be, thank you. First person, Chris Roy.
Yes, good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Chris Roy, Newport, Yale Express. So myself and my team would like to know about number 9, if that person has gone through VLCT, if VLCT helped in any way with this selection? And if so, is that person vetted and bonded?
Okay, so first of all, we are talking about matters not on the agenda for this comment period.
Okay, so I can ask later?
Thank you. Mr. Leonard?
Paul Manette, I reside at 51 Colburn Street, City of Newport, and I would like to make a comment on agenda item number 9.
Okay, so
This is public comment, I believe, and I can comment on,
if it's going to be on the agenda item, we open it up for comments at the time of each item. These are for comments that are not on the agenda.
because in the past you've stated comments on the agenda items also. In the past because I think what I have to say affects the agenda.
But you'll have the opportunity when we get number 9.
Okay, interesting. Sounds like a double standard.
Michelle?
Hi, I'm Ann Sherrill. I'm a resident of Newport. And I just wanted to go back in history a little bit and ask the council to do something they haven't done for maybe 10 years or more. Under John Ward, the budget hearings used to be quite engaging, and various council members would say things like, I don't think we can afford any kind of increase this year. People just can't afford it, da-da-da-da. And somebody else would say, well, yes, we have to do that. And somebody would say, well, can we get more insurance for the fire department? And there would be a conversation going on, and I appreciated that. And then during, I would say, the Laura Dulgan years, it seemed like a pall fell on that kind of discussion. And then if you said anything against the budget as it was formulated, you might be shunned. If you voted against it, you were certainly shunned. And so what I'm asking you to do is, I think things have lightened up, and I think people would like to really hear what you have to say about it. We might not all agree, but we really have to come to an understanding and think about the future as well. You know, you've got an 8% increase basically across the board in salaries for the next 3 years. You're going to need money in the next 3 years, and you're going to need increases in the next 3 years to meet those and other problems. So just engage with each other, please, and don't fear any kind of reprisals. And we won't know if there are any unless you engage. And there never should have been a reprisals of any kind anyway. So I'd appreciate hearing from you.
Thank you. Ms. Bjork?
Jennifer Bierling, Newport, Vermont. Certain residents have taken issue with Ms. Peterson's concerns about the city's failure to advertise the city manager vacancy and the mayor's alteration of the city website to identify Newport as a mayoral council form of government, when historically identified as a city manager council form of government. The residents focused on Section 9 of the Newport City Charter, but they ignored Section 40. And under Section 40, the city council has discretion to hire a city manager. And when it hires one, he or she shall be the administrative head of the city, and the verb shall is used. This has been the practice in Newport for over 50 years. Further, at the November 6th City Council meeting just a few weeks ago, the council again exercised its discretion and voted to hire a city manager with the vetting and search to be contracted with the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. The mayor does not have the authority to act contrary to the council's vote. It's an abuse of power. As I stand here tonight, I can recall 3 separate incidences when the mayor has unilaterally acted contrary to the will of the council. In the first incident, she unilaterally extended the deadline of the city manager's applications in September. In the second incident, the mayor unilaterally changed the form of the city government on the city's website. The third incident is about to unfold tonight. In direct violation of the council's vote, without advertising the city manager vacancy, and it appears without vetting the candidate by the Vermont League of Cities and Towns, the mayor has placed the interview of a candidate for city manager on the agenda. The mayor does not have the authority to act contrary to the council's directives, yet on 3 occasions she has done just that. I believe her conduct is a violation of 13 VSA 3006, which is neglect of duty by a public officer. Newport residents need to pay attention to what is unfolding before their eyes. At the last meeting, Madam Mayor, I asked you if you were bonded, and if not, why, and when you would be bonded, and you didn't answer those questions, so I would really appreciate it if you would do so. Thank you.
for your comment. Ms. Hopkins.
Jennifer Hopkins, resident of Newport. And I was reading the Newport Daily and noticed the word from the mayor. But I've noticed also a mistake in it that I think needs to be corrected. It says Newport has once again signed ambulance service and fire department contracts with Coventry. I think that Charlie Pronto did a marvelous job presenting the ambulance contract to the city officials. And I thought it was funny that we signed a contract apropos of ambulance with Coventry. So perhaps a correction in the Newport Daily would be good. Not sure.
The next item on the agenda is the Newport City Downtown Development presentation, and I recognize Rick Chase.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. It's been my habit over the last 3 years since I took the position of director of the Newport City Downtown Development to come during the budget process and offer an annual report on our work. And that's the purpose of my visit with you all tonight. So wait for just a moment while Becky brings up the presentation. So there's a lot more activity going on now than there has been in the last several years, and there's a lot to report on. I've tried to keep it as concise as I can, but I wanted to do a little bit more than the 60,000 foot view because there's a lot of activity and a lot of complexity. We'll go to the next slide, please. So I'll just say our board is continually working to sharpen our understanding of our mission, and at our board retreat about 3 weeks ago, we settled on this language: to develop and grow an economy and a community experience that makes Newport a great place to live, work, and play. And I'll just highlight that when we talk about that, we mean some very specific things: supporting commercial and residential assets in downtown Newport, fostering Newport's identity as a growing identity as a hub of outdoor recreation, creating events that draw local residents and visitors to the downtown area, supporting businesses to begin, thrive, and expand here, and assuring that Newport's traditional values of neighborliness, initiative, and resilience are honored as we do our work. Our current board of directors consists of Sarah Chadburn, who's our board president, Ed Gildarubio, secretary, Scott Grimes is our treasurer, Dave LaForce, who's here in the audience tonight, is a member of our board, Tim Tierney, Eleanor Leger, and Felicia Updike. And we've had recent activity and support from Casey Vera and Dan Pellerin. And I just want to mention that in the last year, we've more than doubled our budget, our operational budget, from about $65,000 or $70,000 to almost $150,000 for this fiscal year 23-24. And the reason we were able to do that was because of the remarkable generosity of these lead sponsors, 6 organizations, 6 businesses in town that have committed to become lead sponsors of our organization at $5,000 to $10,000 each, several event sponsors who have given in $1,000 or more, and the Pomerleau Family Foundation that has committed a $25,000 grant to us this year. Our organization, like most Main Street organizations across the country, revolves around 3 outward-facing committees or areas of work. The first, we've renamed them slightly. Generally, Main Street America groups have an area called Marketing and Promotion. We've intentionally renamed that Destination Development, Promotion, and Stewardship. The reason for that is that we're not just trying to attract people to come here, we're also trying to steward the character of this community, the values of this community, and the natural resources of the land that we're so invested in. That work is being carried out mostly by the group that we've affectionately come to call the Crew, which is being co-chaired by Colin Matthews and Felicia Updike, both community residents. And so they meet once a month to plan all kinds of activities. We'll talk more about that in a moment. Second group is called Design and Community Welcome, co-chaired by Amanda Boucher and Stan Schopp. And the third group is an Economic Development Group chaired by Dave LaForest. So I just want to give you a sense of what's going on in each of those 3 areas. Destination Development, Promotion, and Stewardship right now for the coming year includes these events. Winter Saturdays, which is the thing that kind of broke us out and brought us some attention because it was such a great time last winter. We're doing it again, so January and February, every Saturday night, we're renting the Gateway. We'll have kids' movies upstairs, live local bands, a cash bar, and local food. 4 weeks of which this year, 4 of the 8 weeks, will be provided by North Country Career Center students. We're doing a totality and eclipse event together with the Recreation Department. I don't know where Mike went, but somewhere around here. And we're going to bring in the kind of head educator, Bill Vinton, from the Northeast Kingdom Astronomy Society, or Astronomy, I can't remember the last word in that. And he'll be doing 2.5 hours of live conversation off the back of a flatbed truck that we're going to borrow over in Gardner Park. And we hope to have Kyle Chadburn from the band ETA there to spin tunes about total darkness. So it's going to be a great time. We hope to do a Dandelion Festival to match Kingdom Games Dandelion Run in late May. This will be a new event that we're working to try and put together. I expect it will involve local fiddler bands in restaurants on Friday and Saturday night. And we're thinking about maybe some kind of a gardener's swap. So seed swap and garden implement swap as the summer begins. And then finally, we're going to bring back the Memphremagog Festival that we began last year, and this year tie it to an event I'll talk about in just a moment. So that also is tied to a Kingdom Games event, which is the big Kingdom Swim that takes place the last Saturday of July. And then this fall we did quite a bit with the City Rec Department to build out the Fall Festival and Halloween events, and we're going to just keep on doing that. That's a match made in heaven. It's been working great. That second area, you'll remember, Design and Community Welcome. This year that will include installing the Welcome Kiosk, the electronic kiosk here. I'll be back to talk to you about that in January because we have to decide together where we're going to place it. And we hope to have that up and running by early June. I had a meeting last week with the folks who will put the software together for that, and I'm more excited than ever about what that will do for us. We have a program that we've just gotten funding for from Vermont Arts Council, where the high school art students have done designs for 10 flat sculptures that will be mounted and backlit on walls. So they're not like on the sidewalk, they're mounted on the walls downtown. We'll be doing 10 of them designed by local kids in town. We've got a community mural project. This is in the design and planning stage right now, but our hope is to kick off a crowdfunding campaign in February or March and raise money that we will then get a match from the state of Vermont through the Better Places grant of 2 to 1, so that we have enough money to hire, we hope, maybe as many as 5 professional artists who will submit designs, go through a vetting process, and come with an intention of building out murals with community involvement in doing the actual mural creation the week of the Memphremagog Festival in late July. So it'll all be going on at the same time. We're going to try and complete this wayfinding project that I talked with you about a year ago on the waterfront path this year. We've gone through a design phase where we've developed all kinds of signage. You all have seen that, actually. I've talked with you about that before. And I just wanted to mention these other two little groups. Canusa 360 Arts Collective is the name of that this group has just taken for itself. Canusa meaning Canadian USA, and 360 meaning we're looking to create an arts community around the southern part of the lake that is not bound 180 degrees by the border in either direction. So a 360 Arts Collective, and they are meeting roughly monthly right now and working on trying to build out how we can promote arts in our region as a draw to the region. And then finally, the Binational Tourism Working Group that we've been meeting with for about a year now. That's the group that created the map last summer called Sights and Tastes of Memphremagog. And then the third area is economic development, and that is being chaired by Dave LaForce. You can see the other members of this task force. This is a group of folks who have committed to meet twice a month from now through spring to educate themselves on long-term economic development strategies that have worked in other communities and about the various things that go into creating a good long-term economic development strategy in order to be able to come and be helpful to the council and to the community to try and think about what we need to do to actually work on that long-term strategy together. So you can see their names here. Rick Woodward's a part of that group, and he's here in the audience tonight as well. Second area that we're really focused on with economic development is the project you all have heard about. That's the purchase of the house over on the corner of East Main and Union through a loan that we secured from Vermont Community Loan Fund. The students are well on their way. I'm keeping an eye on that every time I drive down the street, and I bet y'all are too. In spite of horrible weather, they've been doing their best, and they're working quite a bit inside as well right now. And then the third area is this project that I came and talked with you about just a few weeks ago. I am pleased to say that I am sleeping again for the first time in a month and a half, because on Friday night at 5:15 we hit submit on a $456,000 proposal that 11 different outdoor rec organizations, businesses, nonprofits, and the city worked on together. I'm as proud as I could possibly be of this group effort, and now y'all just have to go home every night and say a prayer that we'll get funded the end of February. But I've had at least 2 of the members of that cooperative who've gone out of their way to write this weekend to me and say, regardless of what happens, we've made a quantum leap forward because we're all working together, and we're really grateful for that. Yeah, I'm kidding. So here's a quick financial overview. Our budget this year, these are very round numbers, but they're pretty close. Our budget this year is projected to be approximately $150,000. Just so you know where that money's coming from this fiscal year, which for us runs July 2023 through June 2024, include $30,000 that you all committed to give us from last year's budget, $40,000 that we picked up in those lead sponsorships that I spoke about, the Pomerleau Foundation grant of $25,000, a state vibrancy grant that went to each of the downtown designated organizations across the state of $25,000. I expect we'll have about 15 or a little more in grant administration income that goes to cover our overhead. And then finally, event income like winter Saturdays. We don't charge for most of our events, but we charge a modest amount for events like that, $15,000 there. And here's the expense side. Our budget this year includes $40,000 in staffing, $15,000 mostly that's in a contract that maintains our website and does a lot of work on our Facebook page and our monthly newsletter. Matches that our board committed to spend out of our operating budget in order to get public monies to come in for things like the kiosk and promoting downtown Newport and providing technical assistance. So $35,000 of our $150,000 budget this year is going directly into the matches for that work. Events and promotions, we'll put in probably in the neighborhood of $20,000 this year to running events. Administration, meaning rent, insurances, travel to conferences, etc. $35,000. Oh no, the travel is the last one there. So $35,000 in admin and $5,000 in travel and conferences. And I can provide the detail for that if anybody'd like to see it, but that's pretty close. And then finally, this number kind of blows me away. I just wanted to share it with you. In the last year, these are the grants that we have secured. So it comes up to over $1 million. $30,000 for the kiosk from a USDA grant, another $25,000 for promotions from that same grant, another $30,000 to support small businesses with technical assistance in downtown Newport. All of those three came from the same grant proposal written to USDA Rural Business Development. Then the North Country Career Center project, that's a $500,000 zero interest loan payable at the end of the project. So no payments until it's all over. $15,000 from Vermont Arts Council that I mentioned. $360,000 that I've mentioned to you before from U.S. Forest Service over the next 3 to 5 years to carry out a design and the beginning of an implementation plan for designing treescape in downtown Newport. And then finally, this is not a grant that came through us, but we were instrumental in helping MCM and the Northern Star to develop a Better Places grant and crowdsourcing strategy this year that resulted in $60,000 to start the Memphremagog Science and Education Center. So mostly, I just wanted to say that this partnership between the City of Newport and Newport City Downtown Development is growing stronger all the time. I have regular contact with almost every department in the city, and I have just nothing but positive things to say about the work that the city staff does and the support that we've received from Newport City City Council. These are all just a collection of photos that came from the Halloween event that I thought were fun. And we'll flip to the last slide. And so finally, that takes me to the last slide, which is our request that you continue to fund our organization at the level you've been funding it for the last several years, which would be $30,000 to support our operating budget that keeps us going, without speaking about all the other things that we're doing, that kind of peripheral money. That's just directly on our operating budget. And I'm happy to take any questions. I'm sure Dave and Rick would be happy to respond to any questions that come up as well.
Council members? Anybody from Newport have any questions? Nobody has any questions?
Okay, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is to set the regular 2024 meeting dates with an anticipated vote. The charter does require that the city council meet on the first Monday of each month and oftener at the call of the mayor, according to the Newport City Charter, Section 9. The council has also approved under the prior council members to actually have a third Monday meeting as well at 6:30 p.m. in the council room of the municipal building, unless otherwise warned. And that's how it is as of now. So, may I have a motion to approve the 2024 regular meeting dates?
And I'll make that motion to approve the 2024 council meeting schedule.
With a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comments?
Yeah. March
Wait,
9th.
first. Comments from them first, is that all right? Sorry. Yes.
I just had a question for clarification. Did you say it was a third meeting or it was a second meeting on the third Monday?
I said, okay, that it was, I mean, you go exactly what I said. The regular meetings take place on the first and third Monday. Okay,
That's fine.
thank you. Okay, I apologize. Councilman.
No, that's all right. I think March 19th is a Tuesday.
Oops. There you go.
The first one.
Good, let's let Rebecca check first.
March 19th.
I got because of town meeting, I got confused.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm sure Kevin's right.
Yep, it'd be the 18th.
So what is the date that needs to be corrected?
So March 19th would be the 18th.
Thank you. Have that, Councilman?
And in June, I noticed we're having the first Monday and the 4th. And the 17th is not a holiday. Juneteenth is the 19th. But we're not having a meeting then, it's been moved to the 24th.
I think last year it was June 19th, or Juneteenth. So when I was going through, I probably just changed the dates by a digit. So
So that should
That
be
would be
June 17th now.
17th.
So what's the date?
It'd be June 17th now.
Anything else, Councilman?
No, that's it.
Any other council member comments?
It'll look like they're fine now.
Good. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, and the motion is carried. Next item on the agenda is the budget review. As a reminder, the procedure will be as follows for these budget presentations. Council members need to hear these presentations without interruption. Presenters will do their presentation in full unless the presenters themselves so elect to use a different format. After the presentation, the council members will be polled to see if they have any questions, and at that time will be recognized to ask questions, and the department heads will be able to respond to the council's questions. It is imperative that the budget process be given ample time for the councilman's questions and review by the council. Persons interrupting the process without being first recognized by the mayor will be treated as persons interfering with the orderly business of the council. As a reminder, council meetings are not a forum for attendees to engage in discussions with other attendees. All questions and comments shall be directed to the mayor. Furthermore, if an attendee is recognized, this is not an opportunity for another attendee to participate in conversation. You may speak only when recognized. The public is requested to please listen to these presentations. If you can, write down your questions. If you cannot, you still be offering up your questions when you are recognized. If you can identify the account numbers where your question pertains, it would be greatly appreciated. Those questions will then be addressed once you are recognized. As the budget information is being reviewed, this budgeting process may actually trigger the need for discussions and decisions regarding tax rates, assessments, accounting procedures, and other corrective actions as applicable. It should also be noted that some of the historic practices that will be discussed through the budgeting process stem from information that was authorized and acted upon under a predecessor council's directive. The mayor and the current council and department heads are working as a team to move Newport forward together with the proper internal controls, aligning appropriate skill sets and transparent communication between the city staff and the council, and with a focus on affordable equity to the residents and businesses in financial matters, and to see that Newport City prospers. May I have a motion to discuss the budget, please?
So moved.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Ready? Who's up?
I think we've gone through, other than apparently we missed water and sewer income
Mm-hmm.
last meeting.
By the way, we didn't vote. We didn't vote. But, because we had a motion and a second. We didn't vote.
Okay. I'll bring it back after she brings this.
I think so.
Could always count on you, Cora. Okay, so I'm going to stop right here because my fellow councilman has pointed out that we had a motion and a second, and we didn't vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. The motion is carried, and we will discuss the budget. Okay.
Is the microphone on? So, under the sewer income, line 2 is what we bill to the Derby for their share of our wastewater plant. I'm projecting that's gonna increase because as our expenditures increase, obviously their share is gonna increase. And that was based on some rough math I did on what I'm gonna bill out to them this month. We have occasionally some water allocation fees. When people they need more allocation to build in a new property, what have you. Discharge fees, and if the council needs more information about this, Tom's probably better to explain the discharge fees.
I'll pass on that.
You'll pass on that one? So that's additional revenue we have come in from haulers that dump their waste in there. Is that a fair term, Tom?
Yes.
So that's a revenue generating system for us. Interest income. And then the difference where we get line 1 sewer user fees is just a mathematical calculation. What we've budgeted for expenses minus the miscellaneous income gives us what we should be bringing in for user funds. And as you can see, we're not bringing in enough money. And that's been a problem for a few years. And if I go down to the water section, it's the same kind of a story. Although water doesn't have really any generating other income other than interest, a little bit of allocation fees, and then just expenses minus miscellaneous income gives us water rent income, which there again is, we're not bringing in as much as what we should be bringing in.
Mr. Bernier, you have anything to add, or are you good?
No, she did well at it.
Thank you. Okay, any comments?
This is the first time, and it's refreshing, that I've heard an explanation of the income that says that's not what we're trying to bring in. Because every year before, for instance, on that line 1 sewer user fees, if you look at the past 10 years, as I recall, we brought in, on average, about $1 million. And now, like in 22, 23, it says you're going to bring in, that's the expectation that you're going to bring in, 1.446 million. And last year 1.5 million, and next year 1.5 million. Now, user fees did go up slightly, but not enough to even match that. And so there are two ways to deal with that problem. One is you wouldn't need as much income if some of the expenses weren't that high. That would be one way that that number could go down as well. And so it's at least refreshing for somebody to actually say, well, that's not what we're going to bring in, because our water fees will, and our user fees for sewage will never come up to that amount. And it's a shame in my mind, I'm not an accountant, that in order to make the budget balance, we have to put in a pretend number that is not a number that you're really going to get this year if you just look at the user fees that you're going to bring in. Just a comment. Thank you for the honesty of saying what's really happening there.
Thank you. Sorry, can I just comment on that? Of course. So, so when we put our general fund budget together, expenses, we subtract our miscellaneous income, we come up with a tax rate. So when we put it together and we say, we need this much money to be raised by taxes so that income equals expenses, that's what we do. Once we have a voted budget, it's a mathematical calculation, and we raise that much money in taxes. But when we do that for water and sewer, and we say, this is what we need for a budget, this is what we need for user income, we're not increasing our rates to match that. So, and if you don't do that for a few years, you get behind.
So, is the water meters, do they play into the fact that is that where the shortfall is coming, is that we've now replaced water meters and maybe what customers are paying has gone down? Is that one of the shortfalls there? I mean, personally, ours went down. You know, when we went to a water meter, our water usage went down, the fee that we paid. So that would just think.
She's kind of right in a way. The more meters we put in, people realize how much water they actually use, so you're going to be more conservative. So, yeah, that's big. That's another added problem.
Ms. Gianni? At the last meeting, I had asked a question in reference to what the council in its investigation had determined in regard to the expenses that are in water and sewer and whether or not they're legitimately tied to water and sewer. And you did not want to answer the question, Madam Mayor, so I was curious if you could share those findings with us tonight.
Thank you for that comment.
Any other questions?
Madam Mayor, it's not a
Excuse me,
it's a
you're
question.
not recognized anymore. Any other comments? Comments from the council? Okay. Anything else on the budget?
I think we went through all the
We went through it all?
departments, so I guess it's up to the council how they want to steer the ship now.
Okay,
Can I make a point on that?
sure.
The meters may be playing a factor in this at this point in time, but I went back. The last time the rates were raised in 2016, I didn't bring my sheet with me, I believe, before this last quarter. Okay, and I don't believe the meters were any factor back in 16 and 17. This operating loss we're talking about has been going on for years. And the rates have never been raised to match what we need. Simple as that.
Understood. Thank you. Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is the interview of potential candidates for city manager with a potential executive session, according with 1 VSA Section 313A3. May I have a motion for the council to go into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313A3 for the purpose of evaluating candidates for potential appointment to the position of city manager, and invite the candidates to separately join the council in the executive session for the purpose of participating in their separate private interviews.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to open a discussion regarding the possible interview of a candidate. Not a motion to enter into executive session, but one time, discuss that.
So an amendment to the motion. Okay. I have a motion to have a discussion regarding entering.
Second?
I have a motion to have a discussion and a second. Comments?
Can you tell us when the job was actually posted?
So the job is actually being posted. However, the people who were set to be interviewed today were given to us from the headhunter.
From what?
They went through the headhunter.
They went through a headhunter, so the job.
They went through our headhunter that we've all agreed on and assigned. So anybody who applied, and I'm just gonna clarify this, anybody who applied earlier, we sent those people over to the headhunter once we voted on the headhunter, and then the headhunter said, you can interview these particular people and the job is being posted. So there was already review by the headhunter on the
May I ask
people.
another
Sure,
question?
yes.
Okay. So, the pool of candidates, I'm not asking for names or anything like
Right.
that. Is it just the candidates that were going to be interviewed before, or did the headhunter find additional candidates?
The headhunter has additional candidates as well, however, those are not for this evening's interview. Okay, thank you. Okay, but yes, there are other people who were identified and there will be more. Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor,
I'd like to, no, go right ahead.
Madam Mayor, Chris Rogan, Newport Daily Express. As I alluded to at the beginning of the meeting, how many candidates are you interviewing tonight? Who is the headhunter? And what role did VOCT play, if any, having this? And are these candidates bonded and vetted?
Okay, so I'm gonna start with the bonding. They don't get bonded until after they might be hired.
Okay.
Okay, so as far as the headhunter, we went through VLCT, who chose Leonine, which is Corey Parent's company, and we had that vote where we wanted to go directly through Mr. Parent, and I explained that his company would be the chosen subcontractor of VLCT, and that's why I explained we could do it for 5,000 versus 10,000, but everybody voted for the second tier washover. So we're doing Leonine with VLCT over Leonine.
Say that again?
We're doing Leonine, who is the designee of VLCT, and VLCT is approving what Leonine does.
So what's the difference between the 5,000 and the 10,000?
Had we gone directly to Leonine when we had the opportunity to do so, we wouldn't have had to pay the additional 5,000 to VLCT, even though we were going to end up with the same subcontractor of VLCT. But we went through that several meetings ago, and it was voted on by the council.
And I realize they're not bonded yet, but have they been vetted?
Yeah, we're not interviewing anybody who the headhunters have not looked at and are sending our way.
And how many are there?
Tonight?
Yes.
We have one tonight.
Okay, thank you.
I think Mr. Monet?
So basically you chose not to re-advertise the position?
No, it's
Because I checked the VLCT website and it has not been posted as of this afternoon.
It is.
And also has not been posted in any single newspaper in the state of Vermont, because I follow them all. And so when I saw it on the agenda, I was extremely concerned about something going against the wishes of the council at the November 6th meeting where they voted to go with VLCT, and my interpretation was to re-advertise the position. And so when I saw this, I was very concerned that something has not been advertised, and now you're interviewing a candidate. And so that's just a very concern, and it appears to me that the process isn't being fully transparent. Thank
Okay,
you.
so the process is quite transparent because VLCT through Leonine is advertising. They went through all of the steps. They will be advertising it. It was signed off on in accordance with the wishes of the council. Because we have our council meeting tonight, some of the candidates who were sent to VLCT through Leonine were vetted to be interviewed tonight. So we wouldn't have to wait until after the holiday.
Jennifer Hopkins,
Yes, ma'am.
resident of Newport. So it was initially advertised by VLCT, and then it was not re-advertised till today, but you have some of the prior candidates, right?
No.
Okay.
It is first going to be officially advertised. It was already signed off on to be advertised. Proofs went through for the press releases and the advertising. The papers were given out who they were going to notice, which websites they were going to put it on. That process has been approved. So now it's just a matter of when they sent it out, which I believe they actually sent it out today because it was signed off on. However, as far as these specific candidates that we received before, we sent them over to the headhunters for the headhunters to decide who could be interviewed.
But that was prior to signing the contract with VLCT?
No, it was after we had received the candidates' applications prior. We then sent those candidates over to VLCT. They looked at them and then said, this particular one, you can interview. I'm sorry.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
with that much time between the VLCT approval and having it advertised, why is there only one candidate tonight as opposed to, you say several? Why is there only one candidate that you're looking at tonight?
Because this was the candidate who applied prior to our hiring that was approved to be interviewed by VLCT.
Thank you.
Was the only one. Ms. Bureau?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's my understanding that the contract with VLCT was signed in and around December 5th. And I'm curious why there was such an elongated delay between October 23rd and December 5th. And as I'm still needing clarification, as the gentleman in front of me was asking, you're using the plural of candidates, but we're only seeing one. So it's not comporting in my brain as to why there's a plural in some cases and a singular in the other.
Because if we received 1,000 candidates prior and we sent them over to the headhunter, who everybody proved would be the vetting process, and they selected one and said to us, that is the one you can interview, that is what we are doing. So we are not going to go around the headhunter and say, well, gee, we want to interview everybody else at this stage. We're interviewing the ones as we're getting them. As far as your question on timing, that actually went to Leonine and VLCT, and they had to put the advertisements together, they had to put together their photos, their presentation, their press releases. And because we went to Leonine, then they had to send it back up to VLCT, to send it back down to Leonine, to come to us. So there was that added step of oversight. And now it should be out there. They've already told us that they've sent it out. So the official process is happening now.
So wouldn't they have had the contract signed to do all those things that you just listed off?
We did that. The
But what I'm-
contract was signed, was already signed, but they had to put it all together.
But it's my understanding the contract didn't get signed until the 5th of December.
The contract got signed after we had the council vote.
Do you know the date?
No, I don't know it off the top of my head. Yes, sir.
I don't, in my world, and all the distrust out there, we've gone to Leonine or whoever the heck it is, and if they come back with 3 people, then we should interview them all at the same time. Not do one now, and if we think he's super, we're already prejudiced against these other 2 that they send up. I think we ought to do it all at once. I don't care if it's in January, and we have to sit here till midnight interviewing 4 or 5 people. But the distrust that's out there on just interviewing the one, granted, he put his paperwork in first, and then he's moved into the new system. But in my world, I think we ought to interview them all at the same time, well, not the same time, but the same evening, and then make our decision. Because I just don't like doing one, and then in another 5 weeks, we do 2 more. That's just prolonging it. Let's get some names, set a date. You want the job, this is when we're going to interview you, and be here. I don't like this, and it's not hard to tell. The public doesn't like how we're doing it.
Okay.
And so I would rather not interview, get the names, give them, say, look, you've got another 3 weeks or 4 weeks, give us your names, and then we'll interview them all at once. That's the way that Mr. Wilson would do it. And I don't like this right now, how we're trying to piecemeal.
Okay. Ms. Pedersen.
Just a quick question, when is the closing date?
Until
Okay.
filled. Right now, it's until filled, but it's probably gonna be the end of January. Yes.
Madam Mayor, are you only allowed to, for your contract, are you only, I'm assuming it's a contract, correct me if I'm wrong, that you can only interview the candidates that they send you, or can you ask a candidate, how does that work? If there's a candidate you hear about, do they have to go through the headhunter?
So if there's a candidate that we hear about, we send them over to do the vetting by the headhunter. We are not interviewing anybody who hasn't gone through the headhunter.
But you can only choose the candidate the headhunter?
No, I mean, there's room for discussion and further interviews, but the process right now is if we get an interview, if we get a candidate who wants to be interviewed, we send it over to the headhunter.
But you're not locked on to what the headhunter suggests?
No, I mean, we can turn around and say thank you. But, the goal is to work with your headhunter and to have them do the
Sure.
vetting and, I mean, that's the ideal. Because it was out there first, I didn't bring it. Okay. Yes.
I'd have to say I disagree with Mr. Wilson, because I don't think he's thinking enough, perhaps, about arrangements that possible interviewees might have to make, from babysitters to flights, to time off from a current job, which in these days are never easy to negotiate. So to give somebody, a group of people, one date and say, be here from between these hours, I think that's inconsiderate, frankly, for the candidates. But that's just how Claire would do it.
Okay. I'm sorry, Councilman?
When I spoke with Ted Brady of BLCP on Friday, he advised that they had signed the contract on December 5th. And then the delay was, they had contacted Neil9 it is, who they subcontract with. And they in turn were, he said it's their typical protocol to touch base with the agency requesting their services to make sure that they're covering all the bases. He didn't know if that happened yet. He did say the gentleman that would be talked to, that I would need to talk to, was Corey Parent. I haven't done that yet. But, you know, as Mr. Burnett said, it's not on their website. There's no posting of the job. A quick Google search reveals the last company and their posting of the job. There's no indication of how long this position will be open. It just seems that we're kind of in the dark. We don't know what the contracts are for, how much they are. Haven't met any of the headhunters. You know, just, I'm in the dark. You know, then we see this about the interview, it's like, good Lord.
So to that point, they contacted me to identify that you, as a council member on your own, contacted them. And they said they were a bit surprised and, you know, replied to you as best they could and then contacted me. And Corey Parent identified to Ted Brady that in fact everything was going according to contracts. So the bottom line is the contracts were signed, the advertisements were sent back and forth to get approval for how the press releases would go. They asked for the newspapers, of which newspapers we should advertise in, where they're going to do it. It was all approved. And so they also asked for the applicants that we received. We sent them over, and then they gave us now who we could interview now. So it's always good to work as a council because individual council members, as we've been advised by our attorneys, have our roles. And so they did contact me after you called them.
If you did
And-
speak
I'm
with
sorry.
them, the first sentence was, I am not speaking for the council, I am inquiring as a citizen. Has this contract been signed? And when was it signed?
And
I
actually, we were
didn't-
here when we signed and approved the contract.
Yeah. And yet, none of this information that you obtained has been shared with the council.
I think you need to go back because you asked this question a couple of meetings ago and you asked where we were and I told you where we were. But I appreciate the fact that you felt it was easier to go to them as opposed to just speak to the mayor. Ms. Pepperson.
So my understanding from that conversation is that my representatives on the council are not allowed to seek information on their own. They're only allowed to get information that's been filtered by you?
Not at all.
That's what you just said.
No, that's not what I said.
Yeah, it is.
What I said was he was advised on procedures, this particular councilman.
And he just got reprimanded for
No, he got
contacting
reprimanded.
someone.
We had a conversation.
He just got reprimanded.
Excuse me.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
Okay, so, we're back at we had the discussion, and now we're asking for a motion to go into executive session pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313A3 for the purpose of evaluating candidates for the potential appointment for the position of city manager and invite the candidates to separately join the council in the executive session for the purpose of participating in their separate private interviews. Is there a motion? No motion?
There's already a motion.
Right, well, is there a
They
second?
wanted to discuss it.
Right, well, we did that, the discussion, so now there's a motion to actually go. And there's no motion?
I was gonna make a motion, but I feel that we have to listen to the residents. And I would rather just start a new year and go from there. It should be posted by then on VLCT's website. To Ms. McIntyre, you don't know who it is. We do. I don't believe there are issues with childcare or flights. So my personal opinion is I'll kind of go with Mr. Wilson and say I'll just wait and maybe we can get 2 or 3.
I'm in favor of that as well.
Councilman, you're okay with that?
Okay.
Okay,
So, there's a motion on the floor to go into executive session for this interview. And it's been seconded, so you're either gonna vote on it or
right,
you're
right,
gonna
but I
withdraw
just
the
want to
second.
make sure they've all
There
had
wasn't a
their.
motion
So
to
you're either
go.
gonna withdraw the second and.
There wasn't.
There wasn't a motion to go into
That
executive.
what Kevin said for discussion purposes only.
Yeah, we didn't do the motion to actually go into executive session.
Now, the motion was to go into discuss the interview. The
Okay,
amendment,
we're gonna-
nobody withdrew the second. or
I'm gonna do the vote, anyway. Okay,
I'm just saying,
So-
nobody withdrew the second on the motion, to make another motion to discuss it.
got it,
Okay,
okay.
so there's a motion on the floor.
Sir, motion to withdraw motions and move forward.
Kevin made the motion.
I think I seconded it, so we'll throw in my second.
Okay. On we go. All those in favor? To withdraw, for the withdrawal?
Withdraw and then do the
Yeah.
motion.
Okay,
Okay, now you can move ahead.
all good?
Now you can make the motion. Yeah, okay.
Okay. So we will move on. Next item on the agenda, new business. President Wilson?
Yes, I have 2 things, and probably both gonna be for Mr. Bernier. I told Becky about it last week. Over by where we're doing the MWA and the water coming down, and I told Becky there was a pond over there. And it was brought to me by an individual that's been on many boards in the city, saying that, are we gonna put a small fence around that? Because I drove over the day that the mayor was escorting state people around. There's a bloody pond over there, and any kid in the world, all it takes is one person to fall in there with water, and we're on the hook for a lawsuit, I think. And you know where I'm talking, right off the end of the parking lot. There's a berm, and it wasn't from today's rain, it was from all the meltage. But there's an actual pond over there, and he was concerned that without a fence, the city could be liable for lawsuit. That's the first one. And then the second one, we got an email, plowed walk by the bank, going up Seymour Lane. She's claiming that we're not plowing that this year.
We haven't been plowing that sidewalk for a number of years. The reason for that is if we plow that sidewalk, the only time we can do it is in the early morning hours if there's no cars parked there.
Yeah.
If there's cars parked there, we can't plow it because you're pushing snow, I mean, literally right into the side of the car. And if we do plow it in the early morning hours, you've got to, the cars that park there, because there's parking spaces, it's a one-way road. Those cars are 3 feet from the curb, and now you can't drive up through the road.
Well,
So
the
we've been leaving that section the way it is, and it's the sidewalk on the opposite side of the road.
Yeah.
They can come out of that upper door and cross the road to that other sidewalk.
Her concern was if they ever had to evacuate the building,
Again, if they
Cross the
evacuate
street,
from
they're
the upper
safe.
part, they can cross
the street.
to the building, the other building side, and that sidewalk's always
Okay.
free.
Good.
The only way that road ever gets freed up is if I tip snow, which,
Yeah,
yeah, it will eventually, but we're not gonna immediately have time to go up and pick snow after.
So Becky, you notify her? Did you see that email?
I probably missed it, I was out
Okay.
today, so.
It's from the state building.
Okay.
But the other one was brought up that, and I went over that day that I was late for the meeting. And there's a pond over there right now, and this was last week. And safety
I've
purposes-
discussed that with Patrick Curley, whoever saw that project, which we just signed off on. That pond is 3 feet deep. Of course, the water spills into that,
Yeah.
catches the sediment, and it flows out the other side. So it's literally 3 feet deep. Is there liability there? There is a little bit of money left. We would have to spend money to put a fence around it. The other thoughts is the lake's about 30 feet from there with a very steep embankment.
Yeah.
Granted, it's on private property.
I just
So
wanted to bring
that-
it up, because I don't want us having a lawsuit at
Correct.
one time. Even 3 feet of water, all the ads tell me you can drown in a pail of water, so I don't.
Now, Patrick and I had a conversation
Okay.
today about that, so we're gonna look at
It's being
what
looked at.
happens for that.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Councilman Charbonnet?
Yeah, there was a citizen that had written to all of us about some accessibility into the municipal building. And I spoke with Chief Bingham and asked him about that. And in fact, there are signs, the ramp on the side of the municipal building. And at the door, there is a buzzer, and Chief Bingham said that the protocol is the door is locked so that there isn't access at all hours of the night to the municipal building. And if a person comes up to it, they ring the buzzer, which goes into dispatch, and then the person is allowed access. That way they can kind of keep the security of the building. There was also, this person mentioned that Gardner Park, the bathrooms were not accessible, but it was my understanding they were vandalized, and in the summer you used portalettes. I guess in the future, if you could make sure there's handicap portalettes.
We did have handicap toilets.
Okay, and they were in such a way that a person could access them?
They
if
were
they're-
next to the parking lot.
Okay. And some of the other issues were privately owned buildings, but there's, I can do forms with Mike, but they're basically vision of fire safety, but they have a ADA handicap. I think that was it. Thank you.
There's, Chief, did you have anything you wanted to say on this, or are you good?
No, he covered it pretty well for the accessibility to the municipal building.
Okay.
Unless anybody has any other questions on it, but that was, he covered it.
I just wanted to give you the opportunity to say. Councilman Bouchon?
No, thank you.
Councilman Curtis?
Four things, quick. I have to apologize to Chief Bingham. I did make it to the barbecue with a badge. How many months ago now? Several.
Yeah, that was in August.
Several. I keep forgetting, sorry. I thought it, even though I got there late, I thought it was a great success. Wanted to acknowledge it. Also want to know if you want to add anything to that, or seemed to be a great event.
Yeah, no, we've talked about maybe adding like a bouncy house for the kids or like a dunk tank for me to sit in, but I think people would. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going with it.
Thank you. Want to publicly acknowledge Phil White and all that he does for the community. I also want to acknowledge his induction into the please help me, Pam, into the something Hall of Fame.
The Open Water Swimmers Hall of Fame.
Thank you. I want to congratulate him for that. I think I'm going to touch on what Kevin talked about, the lady that emailed all of us. She also spoke about snow and a barricade of snow in front of the clinic. It's all gone now, and I think Public Works scraped something there this morning. There was a handicapped person that had to park on Central Street in order to get out. I just don't know if there's anything better that could be done in the future. And lastly, it's our last meeting of the year. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you.
That's it from me. Thank you.
Councilman Michelle?
No, thank you.
Treasurer Johnson?
No, thank you.
Marion? Okay. Next item, old business. President Wilson?
Yes, I have one thing. It's old because it happened 40 minutes ago. Well, it's old, it's not new. I went through the budget and I highlighted in yellow all my concerns and I gave them to Becky so she can hopefully come back with answers at our next meeting. That way we don't really, excuse the language, getting pissing contests back and forth. But these are all the concerns I had and I gave them to Becky. So hopefully in January she'll have answers. Thank you.
Councilman Shelby?
No, thank you.
Councilman Vision?
No, thank you.
Councilman Curtis?
No thanks.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is to set the next meeting, the regularly scheduled council meeting for January 8, 2024. Do I have a motion to schedule that meeting?
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Ayes have it. The motion is carried. And before we get to the last item, everybody would like you to have a happy, safe, and healthy holiday, whatever you celebrate. Go through the season caring for one another and take care of yourselves. Next item, do I hear a motion to adjourn this regular meeting at, I'm going with 8 o'clock.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Next year.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.